Monroe said something to me once I will never forget. He said, real estate is the one kingdom business Jesus calls us into. I said, what, Miles? He said, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. The earth, Lance, earth under your feet is supposed to ultimately come under the dominion of the believer. The blessing of God is to give to the meek an inheritance of earth. And I thought, well, I never thought of that. But then when I found out that I got some data here, people, now this isn't me yet, because I'm seeking to save Western civilization. But in my free time, I want to do what these millionaires do. 90% of the world's millionaires were created by investing in real estate. My gosh, Donald Trump was created by investing in real estate, for those of you that are praying for the election season. Yet only 12% of the population, only 12% of the population own an investment home. And you're all scrambling around thinking, well, where am I going to get the money? Where am I going to get the money? See, it's that mindset right there that's holding you back. The person that gets the wealth has a different mindset than you. That's why I love the word of faith prosperity preachers. Mock them all you want. It's the Bible that talks about, look at the Jewish people, look at Solomon, look at David. Empires festooned with resources. The silver is mine, the gold is mine, and I will fill this house with my glory. I'm standing with a God who's able to resource move, and he's going to give the real estate to somebody. Why should the goats get it, not the sheep? Why should the wolves get it, not the lambs? Why should the world get it, and your children, who you're raising to be Christians, have to live at home because they can't afford a house? We're going to deal with it today. I've got an expert panel. To my left, Dave Yarnes, who has told me of the multitude of bad decisions he's made in the housing market over the years. Therefore, he is a reference expert on what not to do. Dave, thank you for your expertise.
I'm writing a book, The 12 Mistakes. They're cheaper by the dozen.
Okay, and listen, that's free advice he's giving right there on what not to do. And but also he has several properties that he's done well with.
Yes.
So I want to learn the distinction between these two. And we also have Mercedes Sparks, whose gift is similar to my cousin Billy, the acquisition of wealth. It just is, it's drawn to her. When we travel, wealthy people gravitate to her, which is kind of a problem for me because, they're not gravitating to me, they're gravitating to her all the time. So she's got the anointing for wealth, and you see it on her, and I respect that. I'm a Levitical guy. I'm more like a teacher type.
You've benefited.
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you for that prescient observation. I have benefited by my ability to acquire award-winning strategist for award-winning strategies. And this young lady I've got as a guest today, Karen Conrad, is the sharpest practitioner from, here's what I love about Karen. I've met people who have been doing real estate their whole life, but I didn't know them before they started. It's kind of like they grew up doing it. But Karen, I remember when she kind of like first said, hey, we're doing this first property. And it was like me and Dave and doing this. And it's like, what? Then I watched the second property, then the third property, the fourth property. Around the sixth property, the Bible talks about the Gentiles provoking the Jew to jealousy. Let me tell you what that is. It's when a Gentile tells a Jew they got their eighth property. I go, what? Surely, with Dave, your husband, him and me run around. What are you doing? Then I started hunting down the secret sauce, and sure enough, cousin Billy was behind it. That slippery pig. He's always there behind the scenes making some kind of money going on. So he's been mentoring Karen all these years. I said, why didn't you, what about me? He said, brother, I was trying to tell you. And he's right. He was trying to tell me. I wasn't paying attention. You know why? I was predicting the imminent collapse of the American economy. Yes, I was the prognosticator of doom. I was hanging around with Milton Friedman and Rick Joyner's friends and my dear Mark Nuttall, who I have on the show because he's right.
Yes.
It's the party's over. It's just that party went a little longer than I thought. And I didn't get involved with any of the investments. And I'm not going to make that mistake now. So, Mercedes, you ready?
I am ready to go. I just want to clarify, too, because we're talking Dave Yarnes, but Karen's married to Dave Metcalfe. So just before we get into it, I want to make the distinction.
Oh, women would make that point that there's another Dave involved. Not that it isn't a common word, however. I mean, there's a Dave in the Bible, too.
Yeah,
so.
and that was back in the day when you just named simple names. Like now I go into the store and I'm like, what was your name again there?
Tell me about that.
Dave, John, Lance. It was all pretty simple.
Well, you're Mercedes. You're proof. Anyway, my grandson Lex says hi. There's an unusual name. All right, so let's go on. Karen, let's come into the show. Welcome.
Oh.
We're having
thanks for having me, Lance.
We're having a moment here, and I want to talk to you about the Wealth Builder real estate. What's happening now? Because people, what happens is, Karen, people say, well, the end time economy, they're all prepared for the collapse of everything, which is the mistake I made years ago. Somebody's making money out there. The billionaire class is still making money. Soros is still floating around. These guys are on yachts. Somebody's making money. Is the real estate market still working out there?
Absolutely, it is still working. And we just closed on another property last week. And when you know what to do, when you've got the knowledge that provides understanding, you can tap into God's wisdom and know what to do with it. Once you learn about real estate, you get the guidelines. This is a great time to buy real estate, but you do have to know what you're doing.
I just want to say something. It's Karen Conrad Metcalfe. Now, your name is Karen Conrad Metcalfe up there. Is that what we're going with now? All three? Yes? Well, because I know sometimes it was Karen Conrad. You married my friend Dave Metcalfe, and then some women go on with the same maiden name. And so I've been calling you Karen Conrad for several shows. I just realized you're going with the full Karen Conrad Metcalfe. That's good.
And weren't you like in Fiddler of the Roof? Weren't you one of those guys that helped bring this union together in some respect?
I did. Annabelle and I saw the magic. We saw that Dave Metcalfe needs to meet Karen, who was, curiously enough, so focused on work that Annabelle had to call her up and say, "Don't you even want to meet the guy?" And she's like, shook herself out of her fog and said, "Oh, well, of course." That's for another broadcast. Now, Karen.
Sorry.
You guys are. I got a couple of questions for you, real quick.
Sure.
If I was to do a quick round of questions, I want to say this: I've got nephews and nieces now, and I've got family members who are doing like tiny houses and Airbnb and that kind of stuff, and they're putting houses in certain parts of Texas. Is that still a market? Is that still going on and working for people?
Yeah, it absolutely is. There's a lot of information you need to know before you go into real estate projects. And part of what Wealth Builders provides is, of course, the training and coaching for that. But there are a lot of opportunities out there right now. When you tap into what's happening in the market and understand the location, there's opportunities abound. And part of that, too, is a lot of people have backed away from the market, thinking that the only way they can be successful is when interest rates are super low, and that's just not the case.
All right. Well, you see now. All right. Let's go down a couple of. Here's where my audience is. My experience. Mm-hmm. I think if we give them a bunch of tips, a bunch of insider secrets right now, and then let them know that the only way they're ever going to do this is to have a coach show them how to implement them, then I think my people are shrewd enough to realize this is great advice. It could work. I maybe need to make the investment. No, I need to make the investment in learning this. So let me ask you a couple of quick secret sauce advices you can give the family here. How do you select a prime location? All over the country, I don't know where the prime locations are. What's the secret?
Well, there's a lot of things you want to take a look at with finding the right location. Number one is, where do you want to invest? You can start there. Some people are willing to invest across the country. Some people want to invest, within 200 miles. So once you actually kind of narrow down where you're willing to invest, we take you through a process that there are 4 things that you look at to analyze a property. So the first one is, you want to look for an area that you can achieve at least close to 1% of rent to the purchase price. And in this, I'm talking about buy and holds, which are the long-term leases. So what that looks looks like is if you find a property for $200,000, you want to make sure that you can get rent that is close to $2,000, which is 1% of the purchase price or the money that you have into it. The second thing that we advise you to do is to stay in a price range. Again, this is for buy and hold of 2 to 4% of the median income. And when you do that, whether it is a time of, affluent economic growth or maybe a tighter time, what that does is it really helps you to keep your property in a price range, both for sale at some point or for rent, where most people can afford it. The other third variable we have you take a look at is to run the numbers, and you want to achieve a minimum of $300 cash flow per door. And then fourth, we want to run a metric that you can earn between 10 and 20% of cash on cash. Now, there's a very practical process that we walk you through that you can analyze properties right from your phone, right? And you can do it right from home before you have to travel anywhere. And we can, within 5 minutes, I can help you to locate a market that's going to probably work to invest in.
All right, now so many of you guys are smarter and faster than me. Yeah. I'm loving this. This is just one of 15 areas I wanted to talk about. And this is real secret sauce. She's not playing. Yeah. She's not flirting with the numbers. But I just want to get this straight. Dave, are we hearing that if your average income is like $200,000 in that area, like I'm picking an area around here in Dallas, and that you keep your thing, you keep your what, within 4%, 2 to 4%. So maybe that's going to be $4,000 what, a month? What's that mean?
No, what she was saying is that 2% of the purchase price. So your rent should be 2% of the purchase price. So she hit on two mistakes that I've made right off the bat. One, buying property that was way too geographically dispersed, where I had to go and manage it. I own the Commons Mall. I had to drive there and manage it. I had to go and drive and do other things. So I think it's a very practical piece of advice.
Don't buy a mall, ladies and gentlemen, in another state. This is a big secret, big mistake we all make when we're beginners. We buy malls in the wrong state.
The second mistake is I bought a jumbo home. I forget how I ended up with it, but I was going to make it an investment property. But when the market crashed, there's not a lot of market for $1 million+ homes that you have as an investment property. What Karen was saying is buying something in that price range, Lance, that the average person can afford on 2 to 4% of their income. Is that
correct? It's 2 to 4 times the median income of the area.
Mm-hmm. Can I get that, Dave? This will help you with your next mall. Exactly. This will be the next mall you buy will not be
mistake 13.
That's right. Erase what Dave just said, and say that again, Karen. It was 2 to 4 times the median.
2 to 4 times the median household income. So let me just run a quick scenario with that. First of all, it's median household income, and you can Google that, but you want to make sure you put in the year. And so let's just say, I'll just use an example. When we started getting into real estate in South Lake, the median income at that time was $168,000 per household. It's gone up since then, of course. So we would multiply 168,000 times 4. And if we were looking at a property that we wanted to hold for an investment property in South Lake, we would not want to go over that. Or if you just say it's 100,000 to make it easy, you don't want to buy anything over 400,000 in that market.
So can I chime in too? So let's say Watauga, which is more, middle income right now in the Dallas area. When we Google it, I just Googled median income in Watauga, Texas, 2023. It says $88,000, almost 89. So then you multiply that, like Karen would say, it's a multiplier by like 3 or 4. And that's the house price you want to target.
And Karen, circle back to, you had a percentage of rent versus the purchase price. Circle back to that.
Yeah, so that is, you want to try to gear towards 1% rent for the purchase price. And that's really the leading indicator that I look at first when I'm starting to assess a market, or I'm working with a coaching client to start assessing a market, is I look at what the houses are for sale. And maybe I choose a 3-2, something that's common, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. And then I'll flip over on Zillow or Realtor.com to the rent tab. And I'll pull a similar house up on the rent. And I want it to be, if it's a $200,000 purchase price, I want to see rents close to $2,000 a month, which is 1% of that purchase price.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you hear what she's saying? You want to find the rents that. So what Cousin has taught you is you're looking for 3 different vectors of alignment. You're looking at the income, you're looking at the area, you're looking at the rental, and when you get the perfect alignment of the 3 of those, how many strategies do you work? 3 or 4 before you say, Dave, this one works. And then you're not done yet, I'm sure. But I mean, you got, is those the main 3 that you're doing?
Yeah. And the 4th one is cash on cash. And so we've kind of zeroed in on the markets that we want to buy in. And so in that, when we find a property that seems to fit those numbers, and we also do vacation rentals, we're very, very heavy in vacation rentals. We are on it because there's a lot that's on the market now, you might say, compared to a year ago. But the prices, even year over year in May, have actually gone up 5.8%. And so in that, when you get the numbers to work, we don't really pay attention too much to the purchase price as long as it's in that 2 to 4 times. And if we see that the numbers work, we go right in. And I'm telling you, you got to move on those properties fast.
I was going to say too, one of the great things about what's in this course, because I've gone out to the actual live trainings. Annabella's gone. I've gone, took Larry with me, is Cousin Billy gives you, and Karen gives you strategies of how to purchase properties, because it can feel intimidating of like, well, I don't have, $20,000 or $30,000 to put down. And they go through these strategies of how to purchase properties with really no money down. And I was going to say one other criteria Billy throws in at these is when you're running a search like that, look for property that's been on the market for 90 days or more. And he tells this story. I mean, he'll just throw offers out there and to see if somebody bites, because there's certain situations where you're relocating for a job, you got to get out of there, and they're willing to take like just above what they paid for it. So you'd be really surprised. I mean, and I'll let Karen speak to this too, but even things like a foreclosure market, which I don't know if anybody's following the news, but the foreclosure market is really growing. And so, Karen, just talk about a couple of those different strategies.
Wait. Before we go a step further, let me tell you guys, this is so fascinating. I want you to know that I've been asking about this. I want to fast track my success in this because I'm a busy guy. I want my staff is just dabbling. We got to do this, people. I got a friend of mine who told me what they pay in taxes. Now, I am helping support the government's debt. Personally, I am underwriting it because I think I pay like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year because I don't pay attention to this stuff. I just do the taxes. I got friends of mine that own multiple properties and pay like $50,000. And I'm shocked at that. You know why I'm shocked? I'm shocked because I don't think it's a question of having to earn more or figure out how to make money. I think it's a question of how to manage the money you've got and leverage it so that you're creating wealth. This is what kingdom is.
That's it.
Therefore, we haven't even talked about, all we're doing right now is property analysis. What about negotiating skills? What about how to negotiate the deal? How about, learning the difference between selling the property, flipping the property, improving the property, renting the property, or making an Airbnb? And how about doing it as a vacation location where you're going to spend a couple of weeks yourself, but it pays for itself? I'm talking about all this stuff is included and a whole lot more in a special Wealth Builders Masterclass. And this conversation is stimulating, but if you want to be able to virtually get your taxes down to nothing and make your tax money, instead of the government taking it, it goes to work to create wealth. I want you to go to lancewallnau.com/real estate. lancewallnau.com/ I like that, real estate. Makes me feel like I'm a real estate guy. The other thing I didn't talk about, hidden money. People think I can't afford it, but that's not true. That mindset reveals you're not being very resourceful. You could always rob your brother-in-law's car and liquidate it in New Jersey? I mean, there's ways that you could do things. I wouldn't do that. But I mean, there is ways you can legitimately find money. Isn't that true?
Absolutely. We're amazed when we meet with people that tell us, hey, I can't do real estate. I don't have enough money. And when we start asking some questions, we uncover things like, did you know you can use your IRA or your 401k if it's retired and you're not working there anymore, and you can roll that into a self-directed IRA, a checkbook IRA, and you can invest with that money. And by the way, that is tax free, or you could say tax deferred, until you can build it and build it and build it and then take it out when you're ready. Another thing people don't realize is they've got a lot of equity in their home, and you can tap into that equity to help you get started in real estate. And then also what Mercedes was talking about, there's a lot of creative ways right now to finance. Here's a shocking statistic. Over 40% of homes in the United States are actually debt free. They don't have mortgages. There's a turnover right now with investors. They're ready to get out of their real estate, ready to retire, but they own those properties debt free, and they don't want the tax liability, because think about that, all the capital gains that they're going to have to pay. So they will work with you to get into that property with little down and seller financing. There's multiple other ways too. Those are just a few to think about.
I think I want to pipe in too, because like Lance, you're talking about kind of strategies to protect wealth, right? From tax liabilities and things. But there's a lot of people watching. I always put myself in that category of like, I'm looking to continue to build wealth. And so I don't want people to lose that concept of what Karen's talking about right now, that there are strategies, and most millionaires are built through real estate. And so this is something that's attainable for everybody at home watching. Don't count yourself out. Don't say I could never, or it's too complicated, or I don't have the money. I'm not exaggerating that if you decided to invest in yourself in this course, you will walk away with strategies that will not only position you for legacy, but also for your children. So I love what Karen's doing. If Lance didn't keep me so busy all the time, I would probably be doing what Karen's doing, because it's doable. It's attainable. I could do it right now. You guys could do it at home.
I would say, especially if you don't have a wad of cash to start off with, this is a great investment. My first investment was like a duplex. Lance, you would have thought I was a slumlord if you would have signed the thing. But I saved and got my money together and bought that thing. And that made the most single return on investment of my life at that time. It wasn't a lot of money, but it showed me, what you can do with some sweat equity.
I'm telling you guys, I'll be honest with you. It's bittersweet doing these programs, because I could have done so many times. When I first had Billy do our wealth builders, I did a seminar with him, and it was amazing. I watched people lining up with $100,000 checks to give to him to invest for them. I mean, just 1 hour with someone that knows what they're talking about, and that, and he would tell them what to do, and they just writing those checks. And I'm thinking, and I'm over here selling a book for like $5.95, and they're all lining up a cousin over there, and they came to hear me. So I let him get up and share. Then I realized wealth building is a different anointing. It's a different kind of a Levitical call, or a different kind of calling. But the point that I want to make to you is this: I had an assistant, a young guy from Morningstar that you introduced me to, your number one student. I had Bill Johnson and Rick Joyner. A couple of friends of mine felt compassion on me, and they said, Lance, you need an assistant. I think it's because I kept losing I had an ADD state of mind, and they knew I needed someone to help me. And they all said, take one of our graduates. This is so sweet. These guys did this. They called me up. It's like intervention on Lance. We've all got graduates at Bethel. We got graduates at Morningstar, graduates at Christ for the Nations. Take our valedictorians. They would love to be in your world and travel with you for a year. And great intern experience. I got Jonathan Wield. It was the number one graduate you guys had.
And you met him
from
there,
Great Britain.
That's right, yeah.
And Jonathan Wield, had the English accent, and he looked like Justin Bieber when I hired him. Because when I would go travel with him, drunk people would go, it's Justin Bieber. And he annoyed me. Anyway, so he goes to meet Billy, and he buys Billy's mastermind system he had back then on wealth creation and wealth building. And I'll be darned if, as my assistant carrying my luggage, I don't have Billy over for dinner, and Jonathan's sitting there saying, Billy, I have this investment property that I'm thinking of buying. And Billy walks him through how to buy a duplex to live rent-free. Listen to me, people. This whippersnapper kid working for me has bought all these properties since then, and he started living rent-free by listening to Billy's teaching, which is Karen's mentor, which is what you're getting, and he bought a duplex and charged enough to live free next door to the guy that was paying for him to live there.
Come on. One of the things that Karen said that I think is really important too, she said you have to act quickly. And Lance, you know this. Unless you've spent time kicking the tires, getting knowledge, getting research, you're not comfortable to act quickly. That's the key. But if you put something behind you and you're knowledgeable about it, when that opportunity comes up, your kind of reticular activator is looking for it.
What's the most properties you've had to manage at one time other than a mall?
Well, I mean, I did commercials. So, I mean, I had like, a hotel and a mall and a theater and stuff like that. So I didn't do as much.
You have stuff now. You have,
I've got
like Karen does.
I got about 20 places now, but...
you see what I'm talking about, people? In the free time, my friends are doing that. This is what's making me pull the gray hair out of the side of my head. All right. Well, by the way, I want to know, where's a great place for a conservative, Christian, Trump-supporting, messianic Republican to live with coast? I want beach. I want some ocean front. Not Boca Raton. It's too Democrat. But is there a place like in Florida or maybe someplace in Carolina? Anything coming to mind that's really a great real estate? People should come to your workshop or sign up on this workshop to look into this property. Where would it be?
Absolutely. Well, come join us. We are in Cocoa Beach in Vero Beach, and we absolutely love the market. And Brevard County is a very conservative county. And a matter of fact, I think it had the highest percentage of people that showed up on January 6th coming from that county, which tells you how supportive.
It's my kind of insurrectionist community. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's where I want to retire. Why don't you join me? Join me in Cocoa. It sounds good.
Yeah.
Cocoa Beach. It's like Cocoa Pebbles. Yeah. All right. LanceWallnau.com/real estate. Retire with Lance on a beautiful piece of coastline property. We'll have Bible studies together. We'll get cappuccino. Our wives can go shopping. We could talk about things and kvetch about the world. LanceWallnau.com/real estate. So if you want to be able to come retire with me and join me in my ideal retirement community location along the coast of Florida, preferably, go to LanceWallnau.com/real estate. Or if you're watching on Facebook or Instagram, put the word real estate, REALESTATE, real estate, into the comments section. We'll send you a link, and you can join me for the 10 super rapid, fast-paced classes, 10 self-paced classes with 53 lessons and over 8.5 hours of content. And one of the guys, I'm not going to go into it now, always interests me. He is one of the teachers there. I think it's Mike Davis, who is always teaching on biblical revelation out of the Bible, and then he flips it right into property deals rooted in the foundations of revelation from Scripture. So if you really want to do a deep dive on theology related to inheriting the earth, related to making these business decisions, here's a guy who's integrated the Word of God into almost every transaction he does in business.
Wow.
And for some people, isn't that true? I mean, he's pretty interesting that way.
Yeah, he really is. He's amazing.
It's such an important point, too, because other investments, people invest in a mutual fund. What are you really getting there? You might be supporting something that's antagonistic to your faith. But a piece of real estate, Lance, where you know that house and you know the neighborhood.
You know the neighborhood, and I'm telling you, and you hire a handyman to take care of it because you don't want me fixing up the thing. All right, so it's only $747. Now, if you divide that by 10 self-paced classes, that's $74.70. For a master class with the top real estate and legal and financial advisors on how to do deal flow, brother, you can't get $74 worth. There's no lawyer I could get for $74 to sit down with me for an hour.
Right.
So grab it. It's a deal. If you use the information, and you can start right now. I'm thinking of doing this when I take Annabelle on a little vacation because she and I want to do this. It's a good couples thing. This is a family thing where I'm 3 minutes over my allotted time slot. But I want to say something, Karen. Your children are involved. Your family is involved. When Annabelle heard This is a family ministry. Oh, her ears perked up because you get your children involved. The kids can go down, check out the property. They could check out the area. They could be looking. They could come back and report. They got little video clips of maintenance things that they walked through that the guy showed them. But the kids, and then it's a write-off too. The kids are working for you, but they're flying out, but it's deductible because they're going to check out rental properties. Isn't that true? There's a whole strategy to the wealth creation with family ministry.
There really is. They really run things for us, and they have springboarded multiple businesses off of the core of what we're doing down there. And so it's amazing what's been happening. And that's our desire. I know that's many of your desire too, is you want to build wealth with your family, and you can do it now so that they know how to carry it on for generations. Instead of waiting until we pass away, they end up with money. They don't know what to do. We love being involved with the family in our real estate.
People, I'm going to stop here, but Annabelle and I, you could watch this with your family. You know what it is? And it's like this. Your kids don't want to do it, but the in-law kids do. Here's what I found out. My children sometimes roll their eyes with me when I'm onto something because they see me in so many different places doing different things. But my daughter-in-laws and my son-in-laws, they actually lock eyes and go, wait a second, what are we talking about? And I'm saying, hey, we might be able to buy a house here. And who's the inheritance going to go to but the family anyway? So maybe you want to be, if we could work as a team here, the in-law kids are into it. So don't write off this family thing because you think my kids will never want to do that with me. Oh, yeah? If they're married, their spouse will. So go to lancewallnau.com/real estate. And I'm looking forward to seeing 50 in this class. I'm going to go myself. You want to join me on the Zoom calls? Come on, let's get together and buy that place in Cocoa Beach. lancewallnau.com/real estate. Put real estate in the comments at Facebook and Instagram. Bye-bye, and see you tomorrow.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to navigate the world.